Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Rich Martini. I hope you're doing well and I hope you're having an amazing day. If you think that my voice sounds different, yes, it does, because I think I am on my way to becoming sick yet again, which is very, very disheartening because I really cannot afford to be sick right now. Well, not like there's a proper time to be sick and like that I save up so that I can be sick, but now it's just really inconvenient because there is no even way for me to warm myself up because okay, not to start off the episode yet again, ranting about my landlords, but if they weren't so purposefully on the mission to try to make my life as difficult as possible, then maybe I wouldn't be out here blasting their shit every single week. But I guess such is life. So basically, I was out with some colleagues and I was freezing my ass off because I made the grave mistake of trusting that it's not going to be as cold because the last few days it has been warm and it has actually been t-shirt friendly outside and just a denim jacket and I've been sweating my ass off. And I was like, "Oh, I'll just go out like this today." And that was a very rookie mistake. For someone who has lived in the Netherlands for 4 years, I should know better because it started getting so incredibly cold. But that does not stop people from sitting outside. So we were outside and I was freezing and shivering the entire time. And I just went home. I was waiting for my bus. And of course, in moments like these, when you just want to go home as fast as possible, as soon as possible, your bus keeps getting delayed and delayed and delayed. And like by the time it arrived, I could have literally just walked home that 30 minutes. But it's okay. Public transport. Woohoo. And I went home, and the thing is, my landlords are not happy with our gas consumption in the house because they're like, well, in October you've used way more gas than in September, which, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Like, September is still one of the warmer months because it's still somewhat summery. In October, it's already the onset of autumn, winter, and obviously we're going to use way more gas. It's almost like saying, oh, in December you're using more gas than in July when no one is in the house. Like, my guy, obviously. And they're now threatening to raise our rent, but the thing is, they're threatening to raise it with an amount that's illegal. And I fear they know that we cannot necessarily do anything about it because we're kind of tight when it comes to finding a place that is somewhat affordable, because there's not a lot of spaces in the city where you can live. Rent is super high. A lot of places are not welcoming to internationals, and my house is, well, not exclusively, but predominantly international. So they just know that we're kind of at their mercy and they want to raise rent by like more than 15 to 20%, which is crazy because they already raised my housemate's rent by 20% because she was sub-renting her room because she was doing her exchange, and when she came back they raised her rent by 20%, which is illegal. There is like a set percentage of rent increase that you can do over a single calendar year, and they very much exceeded that. But again, they know that we are at their mercy to have roof over our heads, so they basically can do whatever the fuck they want. Yeah, just not very fun stuff. And I rushed home and I wanted to take a hot shower, but the water pressure and the shower is just simply non existent. And guys, I know I say this every single week, but I will do everything it takes to have a proper, livable house of my own one day, and I will never have to worry about this. And it's just the thing is like, if you don't want me to heat up myself with gas, provide me another source of warmth in the house. Like, if you're so concerned about the gas consumption of 5 people, then provide us with electric heaters or something. I don't know, like be a problem solver in a way, because otherwise you're basically like, I am someone who never sleeps with socks, never sleeps with a hoodie on, never sleeps with long pants on because of like sensory stuff. Today I have layers on and I am shivering. But yeah, another weather aspect is that today the fog in the city was crazy to the point that I got lost. Like visibility was literally a meter. And the thing is, after work, I had to go to this place where I've been like two, three times in my 4 years here. And I know my way there, but like I go there and on the way back, I think I take the same route, but I apparently don't because of the fog. I just mess up the turns and I literally cannot find my way around. And the only reason I figured out I'm going in the wrong direction is because I stumbled upon this statue, which I know where that statue normally is. And I was like, wait, that's that's not right. So I literally had to pull up GPS in the city I've been living in for 4 years because of the fog, because I just could not see shit. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. Um, and the thing is, this is my advice for someone who is moving to a new city. I know that maybe, well, a city that is walkable. If you're moving to a city and you have to commute an hour and a half to work, then sure, don't walk. But if you're moving to a city that is walkable, my biggest advice is at first, do not be reliant on public transport. Do not bike, do not drive a car. Walk. Walk for the first few weeks to a month so that you can get to know the place better. Because this is exactly what I did when I moved here. And sure, I did use a lot of GPS, but the thing is, I would use GPS to, let's say, go from my place to the city center 2 times, and then I will just be like, okay, let's find my way to the city center now. Because normally I'm pretty good with navigation, and normally I need to just walk through a place once to figure out how to get there on my way back, or like again from point A to point B. I'm pretty good with that because I pay attention to small details. I always on my way just mark stuff like, oh, this lamppost I'm going to remember, and this is a house I'm going to remember. And from this house, I turn right or turn left. This is how you learn a city. And the thing is, now knowing my way around the city and remembering how I used to go from place to place following the GPS, oh my God, it wasted so much of my time and it made my route so incredibly long and unnecessarily complicated instead of just, walking in a straight line for 25 minutes. But when you don't know any better at first, you just stick to what you have. And like, shout out to GPS. I know I've been nerdy about GPSs here before, but like they really are so revolutionary in the navigation of humanity. Like whoever created GPS, thank you. But yeah, just if you move to a new place, learn your way around. Make marks, make points, and a memory of the places you visit and how to get to them, apart from just, driving to them or taking public transport. Because after you have learned your way around and like, what's around the corner, then it will be easier for you to bike around or like use public transport or whatever. Although I have to say, because one of my friends, he got a car because he has a big boy job full time, unlike the rest of us. So he got a car because he lives like outside of the city and he needs to commute, and public transport is just simply unreliable and it's getting so incredibly expensive. Because I don't know if any of you have ever been in the Netherlands, but public transport is expensive. The trains are expensive and now they're raising them even more. and like a single train ride is like 35 euros, 30, yeah, which is crazy, because what do you mean, like literally that makes public transport, which is made for the masses, just attainable for selected few, because 35 euros is crazy much for a single 2 hour train trip. Like that is just outrageous. And I I'm so thankful they have discounts for students, and they have this student travel product which allows me for certain days of the week to travel for free, because otherwise I will never be going it. Not that I now go anywhere because I'm constantly working, but like, my guy, just public transport should not be a luxury. I'm sorry. And like, I don't know if that's just me who's really into Zoran Mamdani's campaign right now. And like, shout out to him. Like, that is my mayor. That is my mayor, said the Bulgarian immigrant in the Netherlands. I, okay, I don't want to say I love, because like, that's still a politician. And but like every single time I see him, I'm like, hopeful, and I'm super super happy for New York City, and I just hope he manages to deliver on all the promises. And I need to remind myself every single time I see him, this is a politician. You should not praise him like over the top, because if you, in my humble opinion, if you fully agree with a politician about every single thing, and you praise them and you love them, like unless they're, part of your family or like whatever, you might be a little bit radicalized, you might be a little bit in a cult. And still I want to stay critical, but like, I am super supportive of his ideas, or at least mainly the ones I know, which are about rent freeze, making New York City affordable, taxing the rich, pro immigrant. Like, it's crazy that this is what wokeness has come to be nowadays, just making life affordable and attainable to everyone rather than the selected few. And so the reason I'm saying like, oh, this is reminding me of Zoran Mamdani, the name is Mamdani, is because he is going to, one of his campaign promises is that he's going to make public transport in New York City universally free, because he's going to fund it by taxing the rich. And he's also going to create government owned grocery stores instead of private market labels and brands, which, can drive up prices like crazy. So, yes, I think, okay, I'll quickly say this about Zoran, and then I'll move on to whatever it was that I wanted to say, which was complain about my landlords. Can Zoran come here and be the mayor of where I live? Can Zoran be a universal mayor? Because can we do like mayor sharing? Because New York, I'm happy for you, and I'm very hopeful for you, and this gave me so much hope for the future. But can we do mayor sharing? Because there is not a lot of candidates who are so openly outspoken and progressive and proactive as he is. And just the way his campaign was run was beautifully executed to perfection. He was out there, he was talking to the people of New York, the people who he's going to mayor. He was connecting with them, listening to them, and this is what actually humanized him. Because politicians can very much, put themselves on a pedestal that is above the people they're supposed to serve. They're forgetting that they are supposed to serve the people rather than the people serve them, because you're put in power to help those people, to govern them, rather than, I don't know, take advantage of them and their situation just for your own profit and the profit of the 1% around you. So, yeah, he's giving me hope. He's my mayor, And I know that his policies will not affect me personally, but for me, this is a sign of a light at the end of the tunnel, that there are still politicians with a backbone and a vision for the people that they have promised to serve. And I wish him all the best luck in the world. And okay, this is going to get controversial, but I just love seeing young people in power, young progressive people, who I think are the ones who should be in power, who should be given a platform. Because again, maybe a hot take, but I think that politicians should be on the younger side, because I believe that we need more young people in power, people who have grown up in the political and economic and environmental consequences of the policies of the older generations, people who are out there and have been affected themselves and know what it's like, and people who are actually culturally and mindset connected to the young people, so that they know what the youth wants the future to look like, and who are more in touch with the youth, who are, the ones who will have to pick up the mess after the older generations are gone. And I know this sounds very wrong, but and sounds very inhumane, but it is what it is. I know I have my strong beliefs about what is right and what is wrong in this world, and there's just beliefs that I'm not willing to compromise on. And one of them is that I don't think that a power exercise, like an exercise of power, should limit a significant, even if it's not significant, chunk of people in the way it's operated and the way it's executed. I just don't think that's the way to go, because I believe in everyone's right to live however they want, as long as they're not hurting anyone. Here's the thing: believe in whatever or whoever you want to. Have faith, don't have faith. Have an abortion, don't have an abortion. Be Christian, be Muslim, be Jewish, be anything. But please, for the love of God, or not for the love of God if you don't believe in God, do not impose your views on anyone by diminishing the value of theirs or trying to take away their rights to have those values. And I know now you can bring up the point of and the argument that I am now imposing my views, but my view is literally that everyone should be entitled to their own view. And it's incredibly sad that this is a woke stance nowadays. Because here's the thing, and let's take abortion as an example. By me saying that I am pro-choice, I am not forcing people to have an abortion. It is about the woman having her own bodily autonomy, having the right to take charge of her own life and her own body and her own future. And here's the thing: if, let's say, the policies are pro-life, which for me, the way pro-life functions nowadays, or just the whole agenda behind this, it's not pro-life, it is pro-birth, because there is nothing about this pro-lifeness that actually helps you sustain the life of the child after you give birth to it. It is just pro-birth. That's it. That's literally it. It doesn't take care of it doesn't take into consideration the circumstances of the conception, or the how the mother's life is going to be affected. If it's, let's say, that baby is the product of sexual harassment or of incest, or if it's a sick baby that the mother will not be able to take care of, or if it's a medically necessary abortion. So, for example, by the world operating, let's say, pro-life, it is imposing a very limited view and practice of conception and of birth and of what it means to be a parent. Because being a parent is not, and here's the thing, I don't have any children, but in my opinion, being a parent is not simply, and I say simply, not meaning that it's just something you do lightly, and I'm not trying to undermine the importance of birth, but being a parent takes more than conceiving and birthing a child. Being a parent is about raising that child. It's about sustaining a life. It's about providing livelihood, providing opportunities, providing security, providing a home, not just a house, a home, providing not just parents who birthed you, but providing a family. So, for example, in this pro-lifeness, you're imposing that every single woman should give birth to the child that was conceived. But in my view, which is pro-choice, it is not about, oh, women should have abortions. It is about women should have the right to abortion. And in this pro-choice environment, a woman is entitled to her own life. Because the thing is, if you believe that abortion is not the right way to go, if it's forbidden in your religion, which you exercise, if it's not morally okay with you, don't have the abortion if you want to have the baby. But that does not mean that you get the right to dictate the life of another person. That's just not right with me. And this is not something I'm willing to compromise on. And here's the thing. In this pro-choice, you can have your abortion or you cannot have your abortion. And it's about the coexistence of two beliefs. No, well, not two beliefs, many beliefs. It's about the tolerance and the acceptance of different situations, different people, and different approaches to a single situation. And I know that maybe for some of you I am preaching to the choir, but I know that there's people who are very anti-abortion and are very pro-life, for example. And I just really, really don't understand why. And sure, like I am willing to have this conversation, but the thing is, for me, if you base this belief solely on, let's say, religion, that is not sufficient, because there's many different religions, there's many different paths of lives. There's presence of religion, lack of religion, somewhat presence of religion, somewhat lack of a religion. And it, for me, it is not okay. Let's say I am a devoted Christian who lives by the 10 Amendments and follows the Bible as a guide to life and through life. For me, it would not be okay if this is my belief to impose it on someone who does not share the same belief. That is taking away their human right to be their own human, to follow their own path. And I think this is what is meant about those perceived as radically liberal and radically progressive and woke stances and policies. It is not about taking the traditional values away. It is about accommodating a multitude of values. It is about recognizing that every single person is a product of their own context, a product of their own path of life. And it would be unfair and just, in my opinion, completely wrong to impose a single solution to a single problem without taking into consideration the multitude of lives that are affected, that are taken into consideration, that go through these situations. And I know that I understand where certain views arise from. I can understand why they're preached, because I understand where my view comes from. But just because I understand it does not mean I agree. Because in my view, I would not want to limit your self expression, but your view wants to limit mine. You only want your view to accommodate your point of view, your morale, your approach to decisions in life. Whereas mine is tolerating to your point of view and to my point of view, and it sees them as not two opposing ends of a single spectrum. It sees them simply as single cases of their own, and one is not better than the other. It's just about, it shouldn't be one over the other. It's about coexistence. It's as simple as that, and it pains me deeply that some people struggle to see this, because for me, this is what it's like. This is what it means to be a human, to be accepting, to be loving, no matter the other person's religion, beliefs. It's about everyone having their own right to live their life the way they see fit. And I'm so incredibly sad that this is perceived as something radical, as something woke, because woke has come to take this negative connotation within itself. And that just, I don't know, sucks. Yeah, I don't know. This became quite political without even me intending it to. It's all started from my landlords. I have something else to talk about. I don't know if I should talk about this now and make this even further political. You know what? When it rains, it pours. Okay, so there's something else I quickly wanted to, well, let's see how quickly I wanted to talk about. And it is the fact that during a Wall Street Journal event, when they were giving away awards, I believe, Billie Eilish made a very sizable donation. She donated $11.5 million to charity. And for me, that is the most badass thing I have ever seen in my entire life. Here's the thing, because the way she executed it was beautiful. Because she went up, she gave her speech, and what I found, just I was in my room literally standing ovationing her. She was like, there's a lot more people in this room who have way more money than me. And if you're a billionaire, why are you a billionaire? Give your monies away, shorty. Not monies, money. Yeah, monies is, yeah. And to me, I respect that so much. I respect celebrities with a stance. I respect celebrities with a backbone. I respect celebrities with integrity. And I respect celebrities with class consciousness and with proactiveness. Because, and I know that there's people out there who might be like, oh, why do I have to listen to the views of a musician? Or what does this influencer know about anything? And yada yada. And like, I understand it. I understand it that, for example, people who are way more well endowed than us financially, like us common folk, I understand how it may appear to us that, oh, they're so out of touch. And some of them genuinely are, and they have not a single clue what life is like for the common person. But here's the thing. Those people, whether you like it or not, because of the way we have given them the fame, the celebrity, the power, they have social power. They have somewhat of a control, control is not maybe the right word, but like they have the ability to steer public opinion. And because of that, in my opinion, and I know this may be radical, and I know this may be disagreed upon by some people. That's why I believe they have social responsibility. And don't come out here and tell me, I'm just doing my music and I'm going to use my platform for personal gain when it comes to finances, when it comes to opportunities, when it comes to celebrity, to fame, to yada, yada, yada. You cannot use your platform for personal success by taking and like that success being granted by the fact that people are paying attention to what you say and what you do, but then not speak up on that platform about things that affect society at large. And now, does this mean that everyone should have an opinion about everything? No. Do they need to speak about every single thing? I don't think so. Because here's the thing, there is a lot of stuff that is not known on a global scale. And that is normal. That is okay. This is how news function. But there's, for example, nowadays, certain key global conflicts. And I know you may be, let's say, an influencer who does book talk, or you may be a musician who wants to separate themselves from politics whatsoever because you think that musical experiences are universal. And that is true. And like, you're entitled to be an artist, but in your practice of an artist, don't forget that you're a human and you're a part of that society. And for me, it is not okay if you want to profit off of people's time and attention and love, but you're unwilling to give back and help them in a way. Because look at Ariana. She spoke up about Palestine. People immediately donated. Taylor urged people to register to vote in the last year's presidential elections. People went out and registered to vote. Those people are in power, whether they like it or not, whether we like it or not. And for me, it would be hypocritical if you want to reap the fruits of the fame you have and you don't want to face the responsibilities that come with that platform. Because like Uncle Ben said, was it Uncle Ben? Ben, with great power comes great responsibility. And now here's the thing. I realize that, for example, there's people who, again, want to distance themselves from politics because they see their art as something universal. And that's okay. But, or like they may not be uneducated, they may be uneducated on the topic at point. Or it's not a topic that they personally care about. If it's not a topic you personally care about, it would be hypocritical if you spoke up on it because, yeah, you would be woke washing, for example. But if you're not educated on the topic, get educated on the topic. Because here's the thing. I, for example, before October 2023, was not educated on the topic Palestine-Israel. I was not. I admit it. I don't think there's any shame in not knowing. I think there's shame in choosing to stay not knowledgeable when you have all the access to information you need. And sure, for example, in that conflict, there is a lot of censorship. There is a lot of, how do I say it? Propaganda. But here's the thing. Nowadays, you don't need to go to a library or a lecture to gain education. You have access to the internet. Although I, in my house, don't right now, but I'll explain this in a little bit. You have a lot of tools to gain knowledge. And for me, if you are not knowledgeable after something has been going on for a long time, after something has been very prominent in the news, then that's a choice. And you cannot come out here and say, oh, I'm just not educated on the topic. That was your choice to stay uneducated on the topic. And here's the thing. It always leaves a bad aftertaste when someone has been staying silent about a genocide for years now, but then immediately speaks up about an issue that is of that is of closer geographical proximity. And I understand it because it's personally affecting you. So you're obviously going to speak up. But just because something does not happen close to you does not mean it's not happening, and does not mean that it should be disregarded. And I don't know, I know that it's also difficult for celebrities to speak up if they're contractually forbidden from doing that. They also have a lot at stake. Like, they may lose jobs, they may be banned from the industry they're working at, they may be canceled, they may be shunned. Like, they can lose half, if not more, of their supporters. But maybe this is my woke perception speaking, but why would you want, like, sure, now you may come up with the reasoning money is money, but why would you want the bloody money of people who go against what you believe is morally right? And that's why, for example, when we're talking about Palestine, I respect so incredibly much people like Bella Hadid or Alex Consani or Mark Ruffalo, because they are people who are very known in their respective industries. And sure, for Bella, she is Palestinian. It is expected of her to speak up. But the others could also choose, like other people in their industries, to stay silent on this genocide. But they chose not to, because they were like, I have a human responsibility, not as a celebrity, as a human. And they recognize that they have platforms, and those platforms are powerful. And you can use that platform for good, or you can use that platform for profit in a way. And that's why I respect them so incredibly much, because there is a lot of backlash that they faced from a lot of people, but they still decided to speak up, because it's about priorities. It's about what you see as more right. It's about what helps you sleep at night and what makes you be able to look at yourself in the mirror. Because I don't know, I just respect them that they spoke up, despite this costing them jobs, despite this obviously costing them money and opportunities for the future. But it's about recognizing your power and using your power for the greater good. And that's all I say on the topic now. I know that there are certain people who disagree, and that's okay. If you disagree, this is my personal view. I'm not imposing it on you. It's just how I perceive stuff. And maybe I just perceive stuff like this because I'm not in that situation. But also, I would like to believe that if I had a platform, I would use it for good. Because I don't know what's the point of having a platform and be able to speak to people if you don't help those people, like I just don't get it. But maybe here's the thing, it's a good thing that I don't get it. I try to remind myself in such situations that it's a good thing I don't understand or share certain views, because those are views which, in my opinion, are not aligning with what I believe is humanly right and wrong. And it's okay that I don't understand views which question people's right to live, for example. And it's okay, because that means that there is something in me which is against it. And as long as there's something that in me that's against it lives, then I'm on the right track. And here's the thing, I myself am someone I don't know everything. And that's okay. But the thing is, I try my best to stay educated on the topics that I want to talk about, that concern me, that concern other people. And it's just, I don't know. I like, again, I've mentioned it before. Don't get your political views, don't get your political news from here. This is not a space from which you can derive um, unbiased knowledge, because I myself am biased. Like I mentioned, I have my own prism through which I look at life. My own prism, which is defined by how I grew up, where I moved, what life is now, what life was like, I want life to be like. So, this prism basically constitutes the way I approach life. And I recognize that this is highly individual and it may be very different from yours. But it's about having, those conversations, those uncomfortable conversations. And I I know you might be thinking, "Oh my gosh, she's so radically left and like she's probably so opposed to everything the right has to say." But the thing is, I have friends who are conservative. Here's the thing, there is a difference between like radical right and conservative. Let's clarify that. I have friends who are conservative. I have friends who do not share my extreme views on certain topics. And it's about having those conversations. But like, if you're going to have a conversation, a political conversation with someone just to prove that you're right, rather than to try to understand, to try to progress together, to try to see the other side and have more empathy towards it, then it's not going to be a fruitful conversation, because people are not always willing to listen. And a lot of the times people approach situation with the mentality of I am correct and let me tell you why I am correct. And if everybody approaches every single conversation like this, then nothing fruitful is going to come out of the conversation. It is about figuring out a way to work together rather than to eradicate one or the other. Because eradication of an oppositional view is not the way to go, and it's not a possibility, and it's it's not the tolerance that, like, the tolerable nature of what society, in my opinion, should be like. It's about accommodating different perspectives, different views. And when I say my friends are conservative, that does not mean that, like, here's the thing, there are certain things that I am willing to appreciate different views on. Human rights is not one of them. Whether someone gets to exist or not is not something that should be up for debate. And I know, here's the thing, I'm very torn on this topic, because maybe at the end of it all, I'm not as tolerating and as tolerable as I think I am. Because when I think about it, in a way, I am in a echo chamber. I am in my own little bubble. And for example, when I when I go out with my friends, and most of my friends who I talk to on the daily basis, and most of them who I hang out with often, rather than the ones who, it's like a once every few months situation, are people who I perfectly align with politically. And it just makes me think, wait, am I actually as accepting as I think I am? Because I always thought I was accepting, but then I surround myself with people and spend my time with people who I agree with, whose worldview I agree with. And echo chambers are not a good thing. Echo chamber is when you're in, let's say, on social media, your algorithm feeds you only content that is suitable to your liking and your views. And this is just basically how social media works. It's called the attention economy, and it's about feeding you stuff which you agree with, which you like, so that you can keep scrolling, because this is how social media makes its money, from your time. Because if you don't pay for something, you are the product. And in this case, your time is the product and your data is the main. It's data is the oil of social media. It is what keeps social media going, because every single thing you do online, whether you use incognito mode, whether you use whatever, it is stored somewhere and it is sellable. And companies can buy this so that they can, let's for example say, target you. If it's advertisers, they can target you with certain messages so that you can go and buy their product. This is how those stuff work. It's not as difficult as it sounds, like as it looks, but it's also not really simple, because those algorithms are basically black boxes of knowledge, to the point that they're such complex algorithms that sometimes even the engineers who created them don't know how they work, because it's so stacked on top of each other. So basically, I noticed that online I am mostly fed left woke content. And in my day-to-day life, my friends are also people who are left and woke, because conversations are crucial to happen. But am I depriving myself from the opportunity to have those conversations by surrounding myself only with people who agree with me politically and who agree with me when it comes to what we think is morally right and wrong? Because, for example, not to like put anyone on blast, but there is this person who is in my work environment, and they have been very, to me, politically outspoken against immigrants. And they're saying it to me, their immigrant colleague. And that is not a nice feeling to have, not a nice, like, it creates tension, you know? It doesn't make me feel welcome, but then at the end, when there's no one to cover a Sunday morning shift, it's always, oh, hey, you immigrant, come cover the shift, please. So, like, you cannot be pro-immigrant when it fits you and anti-immigrant, like in any other case. And in moments like these, I'm reminded that it's actually, my friends and I are not the majority. There's still people who are anti-immigrant, who are homophobic, who are sexist, who are Islamophobic, who are anti-Semitic, who are, I don't know, like just transphobic or like anti-immigrant, xenophobic, whatever. There's people like these. And I forget that I'm so closely next to them. So the proximity is so close, because I don't choose to spend my off time with people like these. Because, for example, at work, you don't really discuss politics most of the time, because, you know, you're working. And in the rare instances that you do, like, it can be such a wake-up call. And to me, that's personally very sad. It makes me feel quite not welcome. Um, and it makes me like a little bit like, oh, I'm out there and I'm earning those people money, and they're in a way in power over me. And that's just really not a nice and welcoming feeling to have. So that was just a wake-up call to see that maybe my environment and social circle is not as diverse politically as I thought it would be. But then again, for example, when you want to, let's say you're choosing a partner, why? I Okay, this is probably rather isolating that I'm going to say. Like, it's a way that perpetuates further the creation of filter bubbles and echo chambers. Filter bubble. What the fuck is a filter bubble? What the fuck am I saying now? Um, Basically, let's say you're choosing a partner. I really don't think that relationships from two parties uh can be sustained if those people have radically opposing political views. Because, in a way, your politics is indicative of how you view life and what you want for the world to look like, and how you see right from wrong, how you perceive life should be lived. There's just things that, again, I myself am not willing to compromise on. And for example, I would not be able to sustain a relationship with a partner who is pro life, who is anti immigrant, who is racist, who is homophobic, who is anti Semitic, who is Islamophobic, and so on and so forth. Because for me, it's about human rights. And if you and your partner fundamentally disagree on human rights, girl, what are you doing with them? Like, get your ass up and leave. I'm sorry, but like, so yeah, maybe I am not as tolerating as I thought I am. I don't know. I'm trying really to be as tolerating as possible, but just like everyone else, I am a work in progress, and it takes time. It takes effort, and it takes open-mindedness. And I feel like in our highly polarized world, it is very difficult to sustain a state of open mindedness that accommodates different political views. But maybe that's something we should focus on. Yeah, I don't know. Here I am, like, oh, give me the Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Just, this again became way more political than I expected it to. And it is what it is. Sometimes those conversations need to be had. Dirty Martini is a political space, despite it not being a political news source. I've always said that I am biased, and I'll never claim to be objective, because I don't think there's such thing as being objective, because everything is constructed around your views of life. And that's on that. Yeah, I want to thank you all so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't just preach to the choir. I'm open to conversations. I really am. So let's have them. But until we do, stay hydrated, wear sunscreen, and don't support genocide. Bye.